SoundCartel.
From SoundCartel, I'm Nicole Goodman, and this is Business Essentials Daily. How's your sales funnel tracking these days? Bottlenecking at certain points? Not quite closing the deal? Well, it's time for a sales revolution, according to Ingrid Maynard, founder and managing director at The Sales Doctor. Ingrid explains why traditional sales models are failing, how a lack of skilled sales talent is holding businesses back, and why a company-wide approach is essential for growth. But first, Ingrid explains to Jeff Waters why she thinks a big attitudinal shift is needed.
What I mean by a sales revolution is a complete paradigm shift to the way that organisations look at revenue generation and profitable growth.
Wow, that's a bold statement.
It is a bold statement.
Please do tell.
So over the last, let me say 5 years in particular, there have been a number of issues that businesses have faced that have all conflated to making the generation of revenue, which we so need right now, particularly our small businesses, but harder. So not only is it more difficult to get a sale today, you've got to work harder for the same amount of money, but we've got a situation where we don't have the right sales talent. And what I mean by that is we not only have a talent shortage in the sales space, particularly in the B2B sales space, that comes with the skill set that we need. So we don't even have the warm bodies. But let's just even say that we find a warm...
It's not an easy thing to do.
It's not. And sales has become a dirty word, Jeff, over the last couple of decades. No one wants to have sales in their title, whereas once upon a time it used to be a career that people would be really proud of because being good at sales actually meant something. It meant that you were great at relationships. You were probably quite a wealthy person because you could live off your commissions and, you must have some magic. I think with the advent of marketing, the lie that we all swallowed was that marketing would do all of the heavy lifting, and so we don't need these high-level salespeople. We just need order takers, and then we just need glorified customer service agents to keep our customers happy. And that all plays out really well when you've got 25 years of great economic growth. But when you go into tougher times, which we've been in and will probably stay in for a little bit longer, you need a deeper skill set. So not only do you not have the warm bodies, you've got a tougher market, so you also need a deeper skill set. Now, if we go back to similar conditions, economically only, we have to go right back to the 90s. And in that time period, what we had was we had a deeper skill set. We had people who knew how to sell. We had people who knew how to lead teams in tough times. And we also had people who knew how to run businesses in tough times. And that meant doing more with the resources that they had. Sound familiar? And also that they were able to engage in a different way. They were prepared to go above and beyond. They were prepared to not look at their watches and go, oh, it's time to go home. Sorry, I didn't get to finish everything today, but I'll get onto it tomorrow. Sales is not one of those professions where you can clock watch. Unfortunately, it has been. So you've got tough market conditions. You've got a lack of warm bodies. You've got a lack of talent. And so when you bring all of those things together and you add in AI, you add in, high interest rates, you add in all of those conditions, it means that organisations are under pressure. But let's just say, because it gets worse, let's just say you've got all of that, right? You've got great salespeople and they're doing a fantastic job.
In spite of all of this, you've got great salespeople.
Yeah, in spite of all of that, yeah. So you've got the right people, they're selling well, they're hitting targets, and they've got a customer across the line. Somewhere else in that business, the experience with that company can fall over and damage the customer relationship to the degree that customers actually get sick of working with that organisation, even though they might have a great relationship with the salesperson. Because if the relationship is just one-to-one instead of one-to-many, It's that point of failure. And that's what I'm finding. So there's an example that I've got in my book of, it was actually when I wrote my book, The Sales Revolution, I had to think of someone, I had to write it to somebody, and it was this person. And he was saying to me, he's a sales leader, really experienced. And I call him Dave in the book. He knows who he is. And he was saying to me, we've got great salespeople who are leaving now because they don't want to risk their personal reputations or their professional reputations with their customer base because the company has now changed so much that it's become non-competitive. So the machinery that they're selling to market used to be best in breed. It's from Europe, but then they couldn't turn around the machines fast enough. So delivery times were blowing out.
Supply issues we've all faced. Yeah.
So supply issues, yeah. When a customer would sign on with their finance team, the credit application process meant that they felt like they were going to the bank asking for a loan when they were just trying to say, I want to give you money. I actually want to pay you. Can you make it easy to pay? And that wasn't happening. And now they've changed their service level agreements as well, which makes it even harder. So let's just say you've got a great salesperson, and in some cases in that business, you've got career veterans that have been there for, say, 20 years that have got really deep and wide relationships with their client base. And now they're faced with all of these challenges. It doesn't take a rocket scientist to work out that there's got to be a better way.
What is the better way? Let's go into it, please.
So the better way is to have an organisation-wide approach to customer engagement. And that means broadening out our understanding, first and foremost, of what a customer actually is and accepting that everyone, regardless of role in that organisation, has and is a customer. But more than that, it's about also understanding that every customer carries around in their head what I call the value equation, which is really simply benefits minus costs. So whether they realise it or not, they know whether they're getting more benefit or paying more for any kind of interaction. So let me take another client example. So in HR, right? So you might go, well, what's that got to do with sales or profit?
Yeah.
Well, it's got a lot to do with it, because if you've got an HR business partner who's supporting the executive leadership team, and let's just say one of those leaders has a pattern of recruiting people into her team, and those people keep leaving, and that person just goes back to her HR business partner and says, I need another person. If you're an order taker and you're an HR business partner, you're just going to go, okay, I'll do that. Don't ask any questions. Don't investigate what the root cause of this high turnover rate is for that particular leader or the on cost to the business. And I just go again to market. And I spend all that money with a recruitment agency. I spend all that time recruiting someone. I've got a hole in the business that's not getting filled. It's non-productive. And then we get someone, and then we've got to onboard them all over again. And if you actually put a dollar figure against all of that, that's enormous, let alone the fact that the root cause of the issue isn't getting solved in the first place. So what I'm saying is when you actually put a dollar amount against either cost or benefit for internal service providers, as well as anyone who has anything to do with either serving someone who serves a customer or directly serves a customer, you start to get visibility about the real measurable benefit and contribution to profit that everyone has in a business.
That's contribution to profit, though. How does it relate to sales?
Well, sales is a function of profit, and I think we've got to have a more holistic view of a business, yeah. So while people aren't necessarily involved in revenue generation, they can be involved in cost retention, they can be involved in margin preservation, and they can also contribute to reducing cost to serve.
That's Ingrid Maynard, founder and managing director of The Sales Doctor. This episode of Business Essentials Daily is produced by the team at SoundCartel. Thanks for listening. I'm Nicole Goodman. We'll bring you more Be Daily tomorrow. Follow @BE Daily Podcast across social media and head to bedaily.com.au for more from the Business Essentials Daily podcast. SoundCartel.